Number 9, Christy Giles. With all the beauty and grace they portray in their photos, it's easy to see a model and put them on a pedestal. But sometimes we forget they're just regular people like us. Sadly, one model named Christy Giles passed away in December of last year at the early age of 24. After spending a night out with some friends, her body was later found discarded on a sidewalk in Los Angeles. It's currently known that she experienced an overdose of heroin, but it's unclear if this was the only cause of death. With the shady circumstances, Christy's heartbroken family and husband suspect that foul play may have been involved. Some of the family claim multiple men wearing dark clothing and bandanas to cover their face dropped the young woman's body off. And while these allegations have yet to be confirmed or denied by authorities, news of the arrest in association with Christy's death have sprouted. As far as the details into possible motives or whether this was in fact a murder, the public is still in the dark. The husband left behind, Jan Cilliers, is still in shock and dealing with the emotional struggle that comes with losing a loved one, a partner. He told news outlets, quote, "I know I'll never get to see her or kiss her or touch her again, and it's just so heartbreaking," end quote. While Jan grieves, he is actively doing everything he can to uncover the truth and possibly hold those who had a hand in Christy's death responsible. It's easy to feel detached from models since they're so often shown at their very best, but in Christy's case, loved ones and fans alike grieve her terrible tragedy. Number 8, Swimming Pool. Going out for a swim isn't typically something to be afraid of. In fact, many people do it for fun or to de-stress after a hard day. But as the old saying goes, you should never mix work and play. Unfortunately, one Chinese model learned this lesson the hard way while working a photo shoot at a pool. Jovi Liu was a popular online influencer, model, and freelance photographer who grew an audience with her work and other cosplayers. The job in question was just the average gig, shooting some promotional poolside photos for a hotel in Saipan. But things quickly went wrong. While posing near the water, Liu fell in and was immediately taken by the current. At nearly 10 feet or about 3 meters deep, it was difficult for her to fight against the water's strength. She was stuck for what seemed like an eternity but actually turned out to be 3 minutes, until workers were finally able to pull her out. But it was too late though. Emergency personnel rushed Liu to medical help while she remained in a comatose state. Later on in the same day, she was declared brain dead after not receiving enough oxygen. At the same photo shoot, 2 others supposedly fell in as well, but they were lucky. The current pulled them to a shallow spot that they could easily get out of. After this freak accident, the company in charge of the shoot, Kui Bao, held a memorial for the fallen model. Meanwhile, Liu's 150,000 followers online grieve her untimely death. Number 7, Public Indecency. You've heard of nude beaches and nude models, so why not take the nude models to a new location? How about a strip mall? Doesn't seem like the best idea, huh? Well, one photographer didn't catch on to how bad of an artistic approach this was and actually decided to set up a nude photo shoot in a Pennsylvania strip mall. The man behind the plan was Michael Warnock. He put out an ad online to find a model where he eventually came across Chelsea Guerra, a young student who was probably just looking for easy money. Warnock decided to hold the shoot at the Miracle Mile shopping center in the middle of the day. Now, with a model in a place, all he needed to do was take the photos, right? Wrong. You see, Michael forgot to do one very important thing first. Ask for permission. The day of the job, Chelsea showed up to the location wearing high heels and thigh-high socks and nothing else. The two went about their business, snapping photos, all to the horror of everyday shoppers who understandably called the cops on the duo. They were taken into custody where Warnock was charged with solicitation, disorderly conduct, among other things, and Guerra was sentenced with indecent exposure. In this strange situation, Guerra just showed up thinking the job was legit. There was no way for her to know this was a sketchy photo shoot, except maybe the fact that she found Warnock's ad on Craigslist of all places. Number 6, Holocaust Memorial. There are a few things people around the world show unanimous respect towards, but oftentimes what brings those with differing opinions together is tragedy, and there are few greater tragedies than the Holocaust. As one of the darkest periods sprouting some of the biggest atrocities mankind has ever committed, the world views this time with a sacred remembrance. But some people are just downright stupid and lack common sense. One of these gems was a woman visiting the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin back in October of 2021. Except she wasn't just taking a stroll to remember the fallen, nope, she was having a full-on photo shoot among the exhibit. Donning a black crop top and skin-tight leggings, the blonde woman posed as a photographer snapping sexy photos. A video of the shoot surfaced online after a horrified onlooker witnessed the ordeal. The witness in the viral clip is heard responding to what she sees, saying, quote, "I'm horrified beyond words," end quote. And so was the rest of the internet. outrage erupted after the video spread to different platforms. The woman was posing on top of one of the 2,711 concrete slabs set up in remembrance of those who were killed by the German Nazi Party. Tone deaf doesn't even begin to describe her. Perhaps the photographer thought that they were making some kind of powerful statement with their photos. This is a prime example that not every idea is a good one, and some art is downright awful. Just remember to be respectful in places that warrant respect. Number 5. Ancient Egypt. Speaking of respect, let's shift our focus to another country, Egypt. Everyone knows about the Great Pyramids of Giza as well as other structures from the past that remain today, as a reminder of the architectural genius and engineering capability of ancient peoples. That in and of itself should call for respect or at least a bit of admiration, but a model named Salma al-Shimi paid her respects to the ancestors in a way many disagreed with. You see, Salma had a photo shoot in Saqqara at its necropolis site, which isn't all bad until you take into account what she was wearing in the photos. She donned a provocative pharaoh-style short dress as well as bands on her arms and a headpiece. Her photographer, Hussam Mohammed, was surprised with the backlash the photos received online, thinking it was just a few photos to try and boost tourism in the area. But many who saw the pictures, especially those from Egypt, were greatly offended, saying Salma and Mohammed were objectifying their history. Others claimed the images were offensive to the sites themselves that were the burial sites for important figures of Egyptian culture. And guess what? It doesn't stop there. Not only were the two taking badly received photos, but they were doing it without permission from the archaeological site. This led to the pair receiving a fine. Despite all the backlash, there are also those online who support the photo shoot, saying it was just a form of expression. What do you think? Were these pictures offensive? Let us know down below in the comments, and if you like this video so far, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Number 4. Tyrone Lebon. As you've seen from other stories in the video, the world of modeling isn't as glamorous as it looks. Sadly, some models start off at a very young age, and many are taken advantage of in their youth by older adults who should be setting an example for them. One 16-year-old girl named Haley Clausen did a fashion shoot for Pop magazine with the photographer Tyrone Lebon. It's no surprise that the fashion industry is overly sexualized. It's just something most of us have come to accept. But when dealing with an underage model, sexy shouldn't even be on the list of possible concepts. Yet Lebon went for it anyway. In one of the photos, the young girl is shown with an out-of-frame man choking her. In the same magazine spread, Haley poses with Destiny, a popular porn star, which isn't a bad thing by itself necessarily, but Destiny was nude in the photos. Thankfully, Haley was fully clothed. But it's still an uncomfortable idea to even think about putting a literal child in a sexualized shoot. Backlash from the photos sparked online but eventually fizzled out. But this isn't the only time Haley's been in a scandal. As a young up-and-comer in the modeling world, she's done many photo shoots with popular companies such as Gucci, Vogue, and more. But some photos taken for Urban Outfitters went too far, even leading her parents to file a lawsuit. Her family claimed that Haley was intentionally posed in a provocative manner despite her age, which violates multiple federal laws. It's beyond sad to see a child like Haley, who just wants to pursue her dreams and future career, objectified and taken advantage of. Number 3. Leopard. Nature is beautiful, from sprawling snow-covered mountain ranges to all the creatures in the forest, to a rainbow shining after a quiet rainfall. There's no question that this world has beauty untold. But even things that are beautiful can be dangerous, especially if it's a wild animal. Sometimes it's best to view creatures like lions or leopards from afar, not up close and personal. Some people have to get hands-on experience in order to learn, though. Jessica Liedolf is a 36-year-old model that survived a terrible attack. While participating in a photo shoot, the woman entered a leopard's enclosure. The next thing Jessica knew, the big cat was taking a bite right out of her face. The horrific accident led to part of Jessica's face getting ripped off. It all went down at a facility that houses animals that were retired from magic shows and other entertainment outlets. Since the incident, donations to the housing facility have drastically decreased, and the owner, Brigitte Stash, now says they struggle with keeping the animals fed. Meanwhile, Jessica has recovered since the traumatizing ordeal and has gone back to visit the leopard named Troha that attacked her. She doesn't blame Troha or Stash for anything at all, saying it was probably just instinct. Despite this, investigations have been opened looking into present safety precautions in order to prevent possible future attacks. Just remember, people, wild animals are not cute and cuddly like your house cat. They can be extremely dangerous, and caution should be taken around them. Number 2. Severe burns. One model named Robin Lee Jansen found out the industry wasn't everything she hoped it would be after accepting a freelance job. At first, it seemed like a cool gig. The photographer was someone she had heard of indirectly through fellow models, but Jansen was apprehensive when she learned they'd be working with fire. Her worries faded after the photographer reassured her, saying he'd done this before and had never had a problem. But the day of the shoot came, and as you probably expected, things went poorly. As Jansen recalls, everyone seemed very rushed and hectic. The photographer's family kept calling him since they were behind schedule, and it seemed like he just wanted to get things over with. Before even getting a safety briefing or full explanation as to what was going to happen or how the fire would be implemented, the photographer squirted liquid paraffin oil near where Jansen was standing. In moments, she was set ablaze. Thankfully, she remembered rule number 1 of being on fire: stop, drop, and roll. With this method, she was able to put out the flames, but not before much of her lower half got severely burned. After an ER visit, they found 25% of Jansen's legs had second-degree burns on them, with the rest of her body getting minor burns. Even still, it took days before she could even leave the hospital, and she says it was the most painful experience of her life. Since the incident, Jansen has used her online platform to try and spread awareness to other models to not accept photo shoot offers that seem too sketchy. Number 1. Cliff jumping. Michelle Nihil was subject to a freak modeling accident while posing near a 4-meter or 13-foot tall cliff in water-inspired photo shoots. The job itself was unpaid and was meant to boost her portfolio. While posing, she slipped and fell onto rocks below the cliffside. The fall was enough to land Michelle in the hospital for 2 weeks. She managed to fracture her pelvis and spine and would have a lifelong consequence from it. On top of these injuries, Michelle had to be in a wheelchair for months after falling, and she had to relearn how to walk. Sometime after the injury, Michelle is still unable to wear heels, which doesn't seem like a huge problem, but for a model, it's a pretty big deal. She's also still suffering with psychological damage and flashbacks to the incident. After accepting the photo shoot job, she spoke with the photographer and told him she was uncomfortable with the idea of climbing near the cliff. Despite this conversation, Michelle thought she had to in order to finish the job, and look where that got her. As you can see, modeling and photo shoots are no easy feat. Real danger is involved, and it takes skill not only on the model's part, but the photographer's as well, in order to have proper safety precautions in place so everything goes smoothly. Thanks for watching. Which of these stories did you like most? Have you heard of any others we should have included on this list? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. See you next time on The Bad Badger.